Does anyone have a question? This is probably the scariest question you're gonna ask during a presentation. You never know what may come in your direction, right? If you face Q&A with fear, it's time to change that though. As scary as it can be, it is a good opportunity to connect with our audience and even save a not so good presentation. A few years ago, while I was in college, I went to a conference about intervention in crisis. Big crisis, major happenings such as earthquakes, tsunamis, big storms. In one of the panels, there was a police officer talking about their role in the force. It was the most boring presentation I've ever seen. It was way too long. It has a lot of slides full of graphics and charts and very tiny letters no one read and no one cared about. He was talking mostly about the hierarchy inside the force instead of what we, the audience, wanted to know. The field experience, the excitement. So when he finally finished the presentation, he asked, "Does anyone have a question?" It was absolute silence. The audience was numb. Until finally, one woman stood up and she asked a very complicated question I can't fully recall. But it seems like she wanted a very technical answer about human behavior. And the police officer looked at her and said, "I have no idea." Now, while this probably is not the best way to approach a question, it worked. It worked as an alarm clock for the room. We all smiled at his simplicity and we started paying attention. Then the woman said, "Okay, let me rephrase this in light of your experience." And then she repeated the question. And that moment was when we saw a complete transformation of that man. He was finally talking about what he wanted to share, what was important to him. From now on, this was the most interesting presentation of the panel, probably of the day. It was all you heard people talking about in the next few days. It was unforgettable. Now that you understand how important the Q&A session can be for your presentation, let's think about our fears. Most people's top fear is not to know the answer. You are afraid of the humiliation, of the embarrassment in front of the audience. Well, let me tell you that most of the times there is no reason for such feelings. So now let's think about it. There are two main reasons for a speaker not to know the answer for a question. One, you didn't study enough. And two, it was slightly off topic. So the first one is indeed a problem. You must prepare your presentation. You must do research, find out new tendencies, anticipate questions. Try to imagine what your audience will want to know from your presentation and from your topic. If you are not prepared, if you don't know enough about the topic, if you don't have the time to research, then you should decline the invitation. So this leads us to the second reason. It is slightly off topic. And it is okay. It is okay to assume that you don't know the answer. But don't stop there. Offer yourself to find out, to do some research. Invite the person that asked the question to leave leave you some sort of contact, an email, a phone number, something, so you can reach them later. This will show your audience that they matter, they are important to you, that you care about them. And most importantly, it establishes a connection. And this connection is vital for their perception of you and your presentation. There is another option though. You can say, I don't know, but I believe, and then you debate the topic in question. Not all audience members want very objective and specific answers. Actually, most of the time, they want to know your point of view. They want to know what you think about the topic. So, usually, this is enough of an answer, and it shows interest. It shows that you care. Although there is another reason for you not being able to answer a question. It's not that you don't know the answer, but you don't want or can't answer. This can happen for very different reasons, from since legal impediments to confidentiality issues, to even can be the case of you can be misunderstood by your audience. It can harm your institution. So, what do? First, remain calm. Your audience will notice any tension and they will give it an interpretation that is not in your favor. And let me tell you, most of the time is not about the answer, but about the tone you use. Let me try to show you. Imagine that someone asked me something that I don't want to answer. And I will say, well, I can answer that. I can't do this, can I? It's not right. It sounds rude, to say the least. So, if I add a smile and I say, well, I can't answer that. It's not the same, is it? I used the exact same words, but it sounded differently. It's all about the tone. Now, you already said that you can't answer, but why? Your audience deserves a justification of some sort. And here is when you need to be very, very careful with the words you use. A small piece of advice: never, ever say it's classified information. Okay? It can have all sorts of connotations, negative ones, amongst your audience. It will not be in your favor. So, remain calm and remember, be polite, be warm, smile, and explain why you can answer. You can say something like, we are still working on that. As soon as I can, or as soon as I have more information. Make them feel that you are not hiding anything, that you are willing to give the information as soon as possible. You are not the first speaker, nor probably will be the last, that doesn't want to answer a question. So, if possible, try to lead your audience in the direction you want. Talk about something related to the question. You may not be able to answer that specific question, but you can talk about to something related to it. It gives them an alternative. It shows that you care. It establishes connection. Make it interesting and catch their attention.